when the crop is green. When the board impacts the crop, the mark isn't immediately apparent. It takes about 12 hours or so for the chemical reaction in the plant to create a white line on the stem.
So we thought we ought to prove this ourselves. Having knocked it down, we'd go in to check to see how long and see if any of these marks appeared, which they did. It took about nearly 20 hours, I think.
Possibly, but it depends on the maturity of the crop.
Yeah.
If it's early in the season and there's plenty of sap going up through the green stems, then they're as easy as pie to spot.
Okay. Yeah.
But later in the season, as the moisture comes out of the stems and they start to go that straw colour, then they're very difficult, and you simply have to get down on your hands and knees and check.
Okay, and how many years have you gone back actually recording these board marks then?
Since 2000, 2001.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So of the formations that you've actually examined, down on your hands and knees, shall we say, how many do you find are man-made and how many are in the unexplained category then?
Well, currently, in the last year or two, I would think
I haven't found
less than 5%. I would think are genuine in our opinion, which I know is
much less.
Much less than 5%.
In fact,
not news that people will want to hear. But
in my opinion, I've not personally seen a genuine one since May 2005, which was an oilseed rape formation at Golden Ball Hill in May 2005. Fortunately, our friend Bill Betts took some wonderful photographs of that formation on the morning that it was discovered, and it's absolutely wonderful. The pristine, the flower heads, which are one of the first things to get damaged when you try to stomp oilseed rape, are perfect. They're undamaged. They're evenly spread throughout the laid crop, just as they are in the standing crop. That simply is impossible to recreate with a stomping board. So therefore, I am certain that small formation was genuine.
Okay, right. What about the Ogbourne St George formation? Because that's another one that you believe that is a non-man-made.
Absolutely, certainly genuine formation. I mean, the main thing about that was the way the crop had been laid. It wasn't flat to the ground. It was laid like the grooves of a record, wasn't it, Dave? So the top bit of lay was probably only a few inches below the general level of the crop in the field.
To illustrate what Robert means by the grooves of a record, we can zoom into the circle in question. The arrow here shows where the photograph to the right was taken. From ground level we can see the disturbance has occurred just a few inches from the top of the crop, but this has a significant visual effect when viewed from above. Ask yourself, what could create this kind of effect? Certainly not a plank of wood.
Then the next band, slightly higher, then lower again, then higher, then lower, then higher, and so it goes on right across this circle. The effect is so delicate.
Are there other pieces of evidence that might show what you refer to as a genuine crop circle?
Well, we have what are called blown nodes. Now, what happens, we believe, is that in the genuine formations, heat from some energy is brought to bear on the crop, which heats the moisture in the stems. Now, as there's more moisture in the nodal joint of the stem, it acts like a pressure cooker, and eventually it will turn to steam inside the node, and it has to go somewhere, so it will explode a hole through the side of the nodal joint.
I mean, the node provides the structural strength to hold the stem vertical, to take the weight of the developing seed head, to stop it toppling over. So that's the strongest part of the stem, is the nose. That's why there's space 5 or 6 up from the root. So that's softened to partly bend it at the node and produce the blown node as well, because of the pressure built in, like a pressure cooker in a...
Quite simply, if you went to bend a stem of wheat, it would bend on the stem between the nodes.
Yes, a straight portion.
It certainly wouldn't bend at the node.
And I took some specimens to a botanist at Manchester University, a fellow called Dr. Roland Enos, and he had a programme going, funded by industry, the farming industry, or the Ministry of Ag, as it was, to test. And they were looking at lodging, which is a term used when the weather knocks crop down, which caused a lot of wastage to the farmer. And he couldn't understand how on earth they could be bent at the node other than phototropism, as Robert just mentioned, as a natural force going to the light, horizontal and down.
So you think it's two different effects. One is that something is heating the water up inside the node
Sugars,
To soften the plant, yes.
and then another effect which is mechanical, or results in a mechanical effect of forcing the crop down in a particular direction.
Exactly.
Another researcher who believes there are at least two effects being brought to bear in the formation of genuine crop circles is aerospace engineer Roy Dutton.
And you visited many of these crop circle sites and scratched your head and thought about it, and you thought, well, what could be causing this? I mean, I was particularly interested in the way that you analysed the lay of the crop. Could you tell us about that?
First of all, I had to satisfy myself that what was producing these spirals was not a plank, or a roll or anything like that.
Yeah.
That these plants were genuinely bent without breakage and beautifully inscribed into the crop.
Okay.
And Busty Taylor and Colin Andrews provided me with data, photographs and drawings of drawings from Colin Andrews, measured drawings showing how the plant was swelled, and also from Busty Taylor some very good overhead shots of small grape shot circles. And they're called grape shot, of course, because they tend to be scattered around some of the bigger formations. I then began to look to see what pattern, what mathematical relationship could be applied to these things, which might explain how they're produced.
Because when you looked at that pattern, you saw that it was made up of a series of discrete actual sweeps, if you like. Is that, am I right?
That's right. That's the first clue. They were generally stripped. They were strips of spiral. They were spiral strips.
Spiral strips. So a sequence of spiral strips throughout a 360 degree.
Right,
and can you? Because I know that you made a model, and we'll take a look at that, which actually demonstrates what the theory that you came up with, that it was a line scanner.
One can split up the analysis of a swirled pattern. We can analyse a swirled pattern by looking to see what the relative vector is outwards and transversely, rotationally.
Yeah.
It looked as if they'd been formed by something going outwards from the centre of the formation at a steady speed, while something else was going round,
rotating at a fixed rate,
at an increasing rate as you went further out, like on a roundabout.
Okay.